is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds.
If Bud was the best, I gotta give it to him. Bud the best, right? He's hands down. He the best. He the best right now. I don't think nobody need to question him no more. I mean, you kind of gotta give him his respect no matter what. You gotta give him his respect. He just went up 2 weight classes. What people said he couldn't do, he's doing everything that people say he can't do.
I've been a world champion, as you know, and I've been a 3-division world champion. But I've only won one of the belts. I don't know what it is to be undisputed. I don't know that feeling. Do you understand? What he did last night is unbelievable.
Stephen A. Smith wasted no time calling out Floyd Mayweather, challenging him for belittling Terence Crawford's stunning victory over Canelo Alvarez. With fiery conviction, Smith declared that what Crawford pulled off was unprecedented. No fighter in history had ever climbed divisions to become undisputed multiple times. He reminded everyone that Crawford earned every ounce of his legacy and insisted this wasn't simply another win, but a moment that reshaped boxing's definition of greatness. Mayweather's doubts, he said, could never eclipse what fans had just witnessed.
Is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance.
Jeff Mayweather echoed the shock, but from a different lens. He explained that Canelo, once considered the untouchable ruler of his division, now carried a permanent blemish on his resume. This wasn't just a loss, it was a scar. Jeff described Canelo's dominance as regal, yet Crawford stormed his castle and dethroned him on his own turf. Champions, Jeff said, are remembered for defining moments, and tragically for Canelo, his defining night was being humbled by a smaller man who dared to challenge the odds.
But either way, he was in discussion certainly with Chavez. What did this do to his legacy? Because I don't think he caught, the Floyd fight didn't give him, people didn't really look down on him because even though he had 40 fights, he was still, fighting one of the greatest ever and an absolute master. In B-ball, he went up weight classes to win. But now he's fighting a smaller guy, a great fighter, but a smaller guy. Does this damage his legacy in any way?
I think it does. Because, the one thing is this, is that, you were ruling, you wasn't, you were the king of that weight class. And the king of that weight class for a good while. And I think that, he had a huge following because, he became the face of boxing.
And even though it's another, future Hall of Famer, still losing a guy come up a couple weight classes, it kind of makes you seem not as great as you might have been.
Back in the spotlight, Stephen A. Smith couldn't hide his awe. Being ringside made it personal, and he called the victory a career-defining explosion that permanently elevated Crawford into the realm of legends. According to Smith, no fighter had ever dared such a leap, then executed it with such authority. He framed it not just as a fight, but as a seismic shift in how greatness itself is measured.
This was Terence "Bud" Crawford moving up 2 weight divisions, really 3 in my mind, because we only fought 1 fight at the junior middleweight division. So he's really moving up from 147 pounds, okay? Terence "Bud" Crawford moving up to the 168-pound limit in an effort to claim the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world from the grasp of Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, I was there because let me tell you something right now. There's very, very few sporting events in the world that are better than a super fight in Vegas. I can tell you that right now. There's very, very few events. Props to Nick Khan of the WWE.
Crawford's trainer added his own perspective, brimming with pride yet frustrated by lingering criticism. He insisted Terence had nothing left to prove. Dismantling Canelo should end every debate. Yet some voices still refused to grant full respect. He emphasized that Crawford wasn't even thinking about the next fight because this night alone secured his place among the immortals. It was no longer about chasing names, but about a legacy already carved into stone.
Terence Crawford. And his well-renowned trainer, two-time trainer of the year and future Hall of Fame trainer, Brian Bomac McIntyre, recently did an interview in which Bomac stated that a fight is not happening. And this particular fight is a fight that everybody wanted to see Canelo Alvarez take, and Canelo Alvarez refused to take this fight with a 28-year-old two-division world champion, reigning WBC light heavyweight, former two-time WBC super middleweight, the Mexican Ecuadorian superstar boxer, who's one of my favorite fighters and a great person, David, the Mexican Ecuadorian monster Benavidez, who is 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. Stands at 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach and fights at 175. But the entire time David Benavidez was fighting at 168, Canelo Alvarez was brought up and he never accepted the fight. And so with that said, now people are trying to project this fight on Terence Crawford. And they're saying that Terence Crawford needs to take the fight. So Bomac yesterday did an interview and Bomac said they're not fighting David Benavidez. And so now people are pushing this notion that Terence Crawford is ducking and Terence Crawford is scared of David Benavidez. And if he don't fight David Benavidez, according to Boxing News 24,
and Timothy Bradley raised the stakes, making perhaps the boldest claim of the night. He argued that Crawford's name now belongs at the very peak of the all-time great conversation, even above Mayweather. For Bradley, the fight wasn't simply about beating Canelo, it was about redefining what pound-for-pound supremacy means. He declared that while Floyd mastered his era, Crawford had just done something more daring, taking down the most dominant champion at his strongest. In Bradley's eyes, that win lifted Crawford into a stratosphere reserved for only the gods of the sport.
It might be too late now. It might be too late, because guess what? He done. Ain't nothing else he needs to do. Ain't nothing else he needs to do in boxing. Yep, y'all doubt him now? Y'all doubt him now? I saw some of y'all goofies on y'all channels. You come here and you get the real over here. That's what you get over here. You want the real? You want a real breakdown from a real fighter, a Hall of Famer? That's what you do. You come right here and you gonna get the real and you gonna get the truth. Dang it, that's what you gonna get. Leave them other lames alone and come right on over here. Yeah, and get the truth and nothing but the truth. I've been trying to tell y'all for years about this. Been trying to tell y'all for years about Terence Crawford. Everybody put his resume down.
Roy Jones Jr. added balance by comparing Crawford's feat to Mayweather's earlier victory over Canelo. He explained that Floyd fought a young, unfinished version of Canelo and outboxed him with superior IQ. Crawford, however, faced the fully mature, dominant Canelo, sharper, stronger, more experienced, and still dismantled him despite being the smaller man. For Roy, that difference made Crawford's accomplishment extraordinary, pushing it beyond the shadow of Mayweather's win.
Generational great in Canelo Alvarez, really 3 weights above his natural weight class. Does that put him in the conversation with the likes of yourself as the greatest fighter of all time?
Yes, it does, and the reason it does is because he couldn't get the credibility down in his own weight class, so he went up to go challenge himself to find it, and he found a very formidable, good opponent.
Do you think Canelo Alvarez is on the decline or not?
No, I don't think he's on decline at all.
So you think both fighters are still at their peak, even though they're 36, 37?
Yeah, I think they're both still at their peak. The age for Crawford would seem like he may be beyond it, but he hasn't had the fights, the tough fights we have put him there. And the years of boxing for Canelo would have put him in a position where they're about equal. So I think they both are pretty much in a great place. I think they're both still in their primes, and this is the best time to see them fight.
Duke McKenzie was almost lost for words. He described how Canelo looked powerless against Crawford's relentless speed and precision. McKenzie called it one of the most complete performances ever seen, declaring that Crawford not only unified titles but proved himself nearly unbeatable against the best. His tone carried awe, as though he had just witnessed something that would be replayed for decades.
Know that feeling? Do you understand? What he did last night is unbelievable. He's a 3-time undisputed world champion, and he's beaten the best of the best. Now, for me, there were red flags way before this fight. Not way before the fight. You know, in the build-up to this fight, Canelo's body language in the run-up to this fight. You know, he turned up in Vegas in his stretch limo, in his Armani suit. He's had his kids and his wife in the back of the car, and he's got out and he's strolling around like he owns the gaff. Now, that all that signified to me was a very comfortable man. He was too comfortable. And Terence Crawford just kept it real from the outset. Tracksuit, no nonsense, went there to win, said what he was going to do, told the world what he was going to do long before the fight. I think he asked for this fight many years ago. The discussion he had with Bill Haney, and I think it was him that actually suggested call out Canelo, which he laughed at the beginning, but then it came to fruition, and now it's come to fruition. I mean, what you saw in that fight yesterday, what I watched in that fight yesterday, it was for the purists. It really was, because you really have to try and understand boxing and know what you're looking at. It was the feints. It was the way that he handled the bigger man. It was the little feints, the little side steps, the little flicking with the jabs, hitting him with the head and the body, the little combinations, the little 2s and 3s, and also with Crawford knowing how to close a round, knowing how to win rounds.
Trainer Robert Garcia gave his own stamp of approval, insisting that Crawford achieved what Floyd never attempted. Garcia pointed out that Crawford dominated 9 or 10 rounds against Canelo, showing hunger and fearlessness at the highest risk level. This wasn't about numbers, he said, but about daring to gamble everything. That's what transforms fighters into legends, stepping into danger and conquering it.
Canelo has already accomplished too much, has already done too much, and he wasn't, I don't see that hunger in him anymore. I don't see that those changes anymore. He fights flat-footed, throws one punch at a time. He's not fast anymore, and that's why I picked Crawford by decision.
Are you surprised at how easy it was?
Look, not that I'm surprised, because what I just told you, I think Crawford is very talented, and Crawford is hungry to become a legend. He wanted to become that three-time, three-division undisputed. He wanted to go up, he wanted to make history by going up 2 divisions to beat Canelo, one of the greatest of all time. So he was hungry for it. I think Canelo has already done so much, has made so much money, that he's not hungry anymore.
Do you think possibly that Crawford is up there with Pacquiao or Mayweather?
I think in accomplishments, he's three division undisputed, moved up 2 divisions to beat Canelo. So he's probably he's accomplished more than Mayweather for sure. Mayweather never became undisputed, but that doesn't mean he's better than Mayweather. I think in a fight at welterweight, Mayweather in his prime would beat Crawford, and Pacquiao in his prime would probably beat Crawford. But Crawford has accomplished more.
Do you think Crawford should retire after this or fight someone else?
Look, I think a rematch would be fucking good for Crawford to just beat him again and do the same thing if Canelo doesn't have any changes. If he doesn't, he needs to do a lot of changes. Canelo needs to do a lot of changes. I think a rematch would do triple the money that he did in this fight and then retire. But I would be so happy to hear he retires.
Brian Norman Sr. put it even more bluntly. Crawford's beating of Canelo was harsher than anything Mayweather had ever delivered. He explained that Canelo, long considered the king, wasn't simply beaten. He was systematically broken down by a man climbing 2 divisions higher. It wasn't a close decision. It was domination, a masterclass that forced fans and critics alike to redefine modern greatness.
I bet against Bud on Porter. I didn't think that Bud was the best. I got to give it to him. Bud the best, right? He's hands down. He the best. He the best right now. I don't think nobody need to question him no more. I mean, you kind of got to give him his respect no matter what. You got to give him his respect. He just went up 2 weight classes what people said he couldn't do. He's doing everything that people say he can't do, and he is doing it with ease. Right? You got to respect that.
Break it down for me. How did he win that fight in the way you won it tonight?
He won the fight by gaining Canelo's respect. I think he was already in Canelo's head a little bit. I think that even though Canelo knew he was smaller and everything else, these fighters are still humans and they hear what the people are saying. Crawford was undefeated. Look at what he did to Spence. I mean, look at what he's doing to some of these people. So So no matter what, I mean, you have to take that into consideration. You know what I'm saying? Even no matter what he did against Primo or whatever else, you got to take into consideration what Bud has been known to do when it's time to do it. You know what I'm saying? So again, I think Canelo respected him, and I think that was the biggest part.
Canelo just said in the press conference that Crawford's better than Mayweather, having shared the ring with both. What do you think?
I mean, I think that's one of the things. I think that's one of the things that's it's opinionated situation with the styles they fight. He beat him up. He beat Canelo up worse than Mayweather beat him up. He definitely did that. So in that case, you can ask the question: did he beat him up worse than Floyd did? Absolutely. But I mean, that would be an opinionated thing with the styles they fight. You just never know. You know what I'm saying?
Different eras.
Yeah,
well,
different eras. It's a different a lot of things. You can't really say that.
And then came Andre Ward, a legend speaking with reverence. He called Crawford's victory a generational fight, the kind of night that divides eras and cements legacies. Ward explained that Crawford's composure, discipline, and intelligence made it a masterpiece, never allowing emotion to taint perfection. For Ward, this wasn't just another triumph. It was a moment that etched Crawford's name alongside the rarest figures in history, a pedestal where only timeless icons stand.
Beat Canelo Alvarez tonight. What was your thoughts on that performance from Terence?
Terence Crawford, great performance, man. He's been doing this throughout the course of his career. The stakes were a lot different in this fight, a lot more danger. He had to fight that kind of fight in order to beat Canelo Alvarez tonight, and he did that at 38, 37, but getting ready to be 38 years old. And he proved, like Max said, that he is the GOAT of this generation. Hats off to Canelo for taking the fight. He didn't have to take it. Hats off to Turkey Al-Sheikh for putting it together. Just a great night for boxing.
Yeah. How special a fighter is someone like Terence Crawford? There was no signs of a size disadvantage there. How special?
You can see it in spots, but it wasn't significant. And I didn't think it was going to be significant. And people call me crazy, but I've been around Terence. He's strong. He's got a wrestling background, and people don't realize that he's been boiling himself down all these years and still being successful, not having to do that. His condition seemed impeccable, and his strength was there, the power was there enough to get respect from Canelo. So what more can I say?
What would you like to see him do next? Do you think there's another fight after this?
I'd like to see him be done. What are we boxing for at this point? What else is there to do? There's always going to be a YouTuber or a reporter or somebody conjuring up another challenge. We box to get ourselves in a better financial position, to build a name and a legacy. Those boxes are checked. What else are we doing?
And so the night ended not with debate, but with clarity. Terence Crawford had done the unthinkable. He hadn't just beaten Canelo Alvarez, he had redefined greatness itself. Boxing will remember this forever.